Hey girl, hey. Welcome to the Purity After Promiscuity podcast, where we are redefining a woman's worth. I am your host, Janelle Renee, and I am back for another episode, guys. How have you been? I missed you all so much. I was on a vacation all last week and it was super busy leading up to last week, so I know I missed out on an episode. So I am here and I got something really good for y'all today. So I'm so excited about today's testimony. So we're not doing a typical episode. It is a testimony that I am going to give because I just really have to brag on the goodness of God. He did his big one, y'all, and I cannot wait to let you guys know. And I pray you guys leave encouraged and that this really builds your faith up to know that God is able. No, despite the circumstances. So before we get started, I'm not even gonna release the countdown. We just gonna get into it. Hey girl, how y'all been? I want to say thank you to every loyal listener, every new listener, every download, every stream. Thank you so much. It is so much appreciated. I thank you for supporting the podcast. You can continue to support this podcast by simply sharing, by liking, by following, by subscribing, whatever platform that you're listening on. I would love for you to partner with us in that way and share, share, share. Everything is free. Share with your community and your friends, with anybody that you know would need to hear this particular episode and to be edified and encouraged by just how faithful God is. So I just thank you guys so much. And before we continue to do anything else, let's get into it, y'all. So, like I said, I was just on a vacation and I went to go visit my son who had just graduated basic training. He's in the military. And it was really a great time. Leading up to going, though, I'm going to be really honest, I was a little stressed. If I'm really honest, y'all, I was stressed. I was stressed because, being an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, being in the hair and beauty industry. And, for me, I don't do traditional braids like box braids. I don't do all those other kind of like, Fulanis or tribal braids or all those kind of things, which become really popular in the hot summer months because people are going on vacation. It's just hot. People are in water and things like that. So I strictly do natural hair. So therefore, depending on, situation and circumstance, things can kind of be, up and down in the summer months. And so for me, having to plan a trip to that's super important, like going to support my son, do something amazing, with looking at what my circumstances was in the moment caused me a lot of stress and anxiety. And I just kept, just thinking about how am I going to make it happen? How is it going to work out? Because it's not just the cost to go on the trip and to be out of town and all of those things. It was also the real life day to day, responsibilities, the bills of a household, the bills of a child, the bills, in a business and, having to have gas and groceries and, all these things, right? And so for me, it just became like, it looked like I really wasn't sure how it was going to be able to happen. All I knew is that I had to get to see my son. So by faith, I just started making moves. Like I ended up booking a flight because I just wanted to start making sure that I was, doing when I had the money that I was going ahead and getting things done. I booked my hotel. I ended up purchasing a flight, and I was figuring out because I had only booked the one way, and I only booked the one way because I was not sure if I was still on the fence about driving because I was going to drive initially because a lot of my family members wanted to attend the ceremony as well. Well, I kind of knew in the back of my mind that it's possible that some of my family members would not be able to come because all of them are pretty like more seasoned and older in age. They have ailments and different things, and it would have been like an over 20-hour drive. So and also financially, they're all on fixed incomes, and so I'm like, I'm just was thinking realistically, but I was keeping my option open because I was hoping that they could come. But I just wanted to be like, let me have a backup plan. Okay. So long story short, in faith, I just started doing things, and then I was starting to put money to the side. I had someone say they were going to bless me to go down because they were also in the Air Force, and they was like they just wanted to send a blessing, and I was like okay, and so then I just was like trying to get it figured out, y'all. And then in the last minute, I ended up really realizing that I had to rent a car. And so I wasn't planning on renting a car. I thought I would be able to just maybe do a Lyft or Uber to do the things I needed to do. But the realization that that would probably be a lot more expensive and it would be a lot more complicated. So I ended up renting a car. So that was another expense, like of a couple $100s. My son's dad ended up informing me that him and his daughter and his grandchildren were coming, which is my son's sister and his nieces and nephews. So he was like, instead of you staying in the room, why don't we just all stay in a big Airbnb and you can save a little money? So that was great. So, but I still, had to have money to be there. I was not just paying for things for myself. I had my son with me, my youngest. So I had to buy two tickets to travel, which if we're flying, if we're whatever way we're doing. So it was just like overwhelming. And then I had to buy my son some luggage and I had to buy him things to travel because he had never really traveled that, in that way. And we were flying home, and so I had to make sure he had certain things, and so it was just like a lot of cost. But I just was like, in my heart, I was determined and I was like, I gotta see my baby. That's it and that's all. So I was just like so focused on that. So boom. And we get to about to leave. It's like the day before. And I mean, my week was so busy leading up to me leaving. It was like crazy busy from work to like the weekend ended up being packed. We had a service because one of the ministers at my church passed away. Service was Saturday after I got off work, and Sunday we had church. And then I run the store at church. I had to open that, close that. Then we had a 70th birthday celebration for our apostle that I went and I also helped set up and was there as well. And I was leaving that night. I was leaving Sunday night. So when I say it was so much going on, and I still wasn't all the way packed. So I was just like, okay, so I had to a little money to go. I figured I'd be okay. My son's dad already told me that he was going to, buy food or whatever the case may be when he came. And, I knew I was saving money on the hotel since I was doing the Airbnb with him. But now I had to rent a car. So, but things was just working out. I was able to pay for the rental car. Boom, they took the money out. It was there. I was just, things were starting to work out. And so I didn't have an abundance of money to go, but I had enough and I felt confident like I was okay. And then out of nowhere, a friend of mine, she calls me and she's like, what are you doing? She's like, you're on my mind. I don't know. I just so concerned about you going to see your baby. You just need to see your baby. And she was like, so do you need some money? So I was like, excuse me? And she's like, what do you need? Do you need some money? Because I just want to make sure you get to see your baby. You good? Because that's all you've been talking about. And I just want you to see your baby. And I was just so like, I did not want to tell her I needed any money because probably pride, if I'm honest, but also I was just like, to me, she had already been a blessing since she came in my life. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to just feel like she's always giving, so I just was hesitant. And she was just like, girl, I love you. You're my sister friend, and I just want to make sure you get to see your baby. And I know you want to see your baby, and I just be too worried if I have it to bless you. Let me bless you. So she did. She blessed me, and I was just like, wow. It was just exactly what I needed. It was really more than enough. I was so blessed. I was so happy. Like, God, you is really moving. You doing a big one. So we get down there, and we get down there and all is well. We got the rental, we got something to eat, we go to the Airbnb, and then she called again, and I'm telling her like, we there, we in the Airbnb. She was happy we made it safely, this and this and that. And then she asked me again like, you need some money? And I'm like, huh? Like what? And then she was like, I'm gonna just send you a couple more dollars, just a couple more dollars, so you make sure I have some food and stuff while y'all there. So I'm like, okay. So then she sent me some more money, and I'm like, girl, like, me and you gonna have to fight because listen, sis, I don't want you to ever think that this is one sided, like, because it's not. And I'm definitely gonna bless you back, and don't worry about that because and she never asked me to. She never asked for anything, but that's just how I am. So I was like, God, this is insane. So we get to see my son for his ceremony on the first day. On the second day, his dad get there, sisters, nieces, and nephews. Now it's like a big family thing. We're having a good time. We're enjoying the moment. We're eating. We're going to the store. We're going shopping. Everything is fine. We're having a blast. Okay. I mean, it was blessed. I am so grateful that I was able to go and be there for my son to support him. You know, it was such a big leap of faith he took to just leave his comfort zone, leave his house. What did that sound like, Abraham? To leave everything that he knows. Like, he is a mama's boy. He is such a mama's boy. All my sons are. That's all they know is their mom. So that was big for him to choose to leave the entire state, the entire family and support system to go follow his heart and his dreams. So I just really wanted to support him in that. And it was great. Everything was great. We had a great time. And so it came time for me to check in because we were flying. Me and my youngest son was flying home. Well, when I go on the app to check in with the airline, like I normally do, so I get my boarding passes to my phone. As I'm checking in, it tells me I have no bags. I'm like, huh? What? I ain't got no bags. How that? I specifically paid for bags when I bought my ticket. I paid for that already. So I'm like, surely this is a mistake. Surely they got to fix this. So I call and they get to telling me that because I changed my flight and I bought the bundle, which gave me the ability to change my flight without a change fee. So changing my flight was not a problem because I was able to do that. But what they said was that because I was initially flying from one airport into Texas where I was going, and instead of me doing flying from Ohio to Texas, I decided I just would fly home. So I was flying from Texas to back to Ohio. And so I switched my flight route. And they said because I switched my flight route that my bag, the bundle I paid for my bag did not transfer. I'm like, excuse me? I was like, wait a minute. First of all, I changed my flight with a representative from your company. I called in and she never once mentioned to me nothing about not having my baggage. And then they also said that the flight leaving Texas to Ohio was like $200 more than what I paid initially. I said, excuse me? I said, ma'am, that representative did not tell me that either. You need to go and listen to that conversation because you got the date that I called in and made that change. She never told me that. I had no idea. I was like, if she would have told me this information, that would have gave me the ability to make an informed decision. I couldn't make an informed decision because I didn't have all the information. And now you're telling me that I got to pay y'all $80 for bags that I already paid for because you're saying that you took the money from the bags that I previously paid for and you applied it to the new airfare because the airfare was $200 extra more than I paid originally. I'm like, no, ma'am. I don't have another $80 to give y'all. I'd already paid literally at this point, didn't even know until just that at that moment. Because initially I paid $327 for our two one-way tickets. I had no clue that they went up to like 520 something dollars for my new flight. I had no idea. I did not know I was paying $200 extra. I'm like, what? And now you want me to give you another $80. So I'm like, you want me to now pay over $600 for two one-way tickets? I was furious. I'm in the middle of my son's ceremony for on the second day. I'm like in tears because I am infuriated. Because I just couldn't believe it. Like, I'm like, and y'all trying to tell me that as a courtesy, y'all cannot just make it to where I don't have to physically pay for bags that y'all just added to my thing. And she like, we just don't have the ability to do that. We can't do that. I was mad. I was hot, y'all. I was so hot. So I'm like, I don't have a choice but to pay for bags because we have bags. We have carry-ons. That's what I originally paid for. So I had to turn around and pay another $80. Luckily, really blessed leave, my son gave me the money to pay for the bags. So I did that. So I was already a little bit irritated with that, but whatever. It was water under the bridge. It got taken care of. We continued on with our day because I didn't want it to ruin our last day that we got to spend with him before he was getting shipped out to his next place. And so we went on about our day. So the next day, we get to the airline. Everything is swell. It's hardly no people there. We get through TSA in like a minute or two. We had a little time before we boarded. We was able to get food. We ate. We got on the plane. The plane left on time. It was a smooth flight. I'm talking about barely any turbulence. And I was so grateful because my son, who was with me, my youngest, he had never flown before. And I wanted him to have a good experience flying because I know that we're going to be traveling more and I wanted him to be comfortable. And so I was so happy, y'all, that it was just amazing. It was good. He was happy. I was happy. So we get to our destination in Florida for our connecting flight. We had like a 4 hour layover. So we say we go chill. So we go chill, get a couple snacks, and just wait till it's time to get on our next flight. So every time I kept looking at the app, though, the app kept saying there was like no gate number. It kept saying TBD, like to be determined. And I was like, it's weird. So when I called the airline, like, hey, I'm trying to figure out what gate we're going to be at. My flight leaves at 5:52. I need you to let me know what the gate is so I can get to make sure we're at the right gate. And they're like, basically, after all this, putting me on hold and all this stuff, that they're not able to see on their end what the gate is. That I have to talk to somebody in the airport. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go find the board, look at the board, I see the gate. So we go down to our gate, it's packed. So I'm like, oh, it's another full flight. So not thinking none of it. We find some seats. We sitting, chilling, and waiting. Our flight was due to board at 5:07, and it got to be like 4:47, and my son was like, "Mom, why is nobody over there at the desk? Because nobody had ever came to the little counter or whatever." And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, maybe they just gonna come in a few minutes. The flight still got a little bit of time before we board. And so I really wasn't sure because I know they're typically there way before time to board. But I was just like, I don't know. Because every time I looked over at the screen, it kept saying on time. Well, then I happened to look over at the screen again and I seen like some orange wording. So I was looking and it said something like delayed till 6:30 or 6:29. So I was like, oh, son, that's why, because they delayed our flight till 6:29. So now we had to wait another like hour and a half. I was like, that's why nobody's over there. He was like, oh, okay. So we just still sitting there chilling, waiting, thinking nothing of it. Because we ready to go home, y'all. We tired. It ain't nothing like your own bed. It ain't nothing like your own house. Your own environment, right? And so as much as being out of town was good, the Airbnb was okay, all that was good. It just was nothing like being in your own bed. I wanted to go home. I had to work the next day. I had to be at work at 7 in the morning. Our flight was supposed to get in Friday evening at 8:47. So we're waiting. And so finally, some people come up to the counter. And then I seen people go up to the people and they were like kind of talking to them. And I was like, let me check my app. And when I checked my app, even though the board switched to on time, now I just said it said delayed to 6:29. It switched from that to on time. But when I opened my app, it said cancel. It said your flight has been canceled. So I was like, oh my goodness. No, it's not. And so then the people next to me, I was like, this my flight says canceled. So she was like, let me open mine. And then the girl across from us was like, does your flight thing say cancel? I'm like, yes. And the other lady said mine too. So we all three get up. And we start heading over to the counter. And by the time we could get over there, they made an announcement over the PA system and said, flight, whatever our flight number was, 552 to Ohio, whatever, in the city, it's been canceled due to weather. Everybody who got bags, you would need to go down to get your baggage, and you would need to go down to the. You have to scan this QR code to look at what your options are. I mean, I could not believe it. My son was like, "What? What are we gonna do? Where are we gonna go?" I mean, he got the panicking. I'm trying to keep him calm. I'm like, okay, okay, okay. I scan the QR code. It's not working. It's not doing nothing. So I then calls the number, and I'm like, trying to so I can see what our options are, so we can rebook to get on like the next flight. Because I'm like, I gotta get home. I gotta go home. I gotta work tomorrow. I got a meeting, and before I go to work, I'm like, I don't have any more money. I exhausted all our funds. Being out of town and just being in the airport, being out, it's expensive. So we go down to get our baggage. We can't even find our bag. It's like pandemonium because I told you I was a full flight, so there's so many people, and so we just like irritated. I'm on the phone with the people. They're acting retarded. Like, excuse me, I'm not gonna say that word because that's really derogatory. I don't like to use it because I know having physical impairments, mental impairments is a real thing, and I never want to use that term in in such a way where it just makes light of it. So I apologize for that. It was just irritating. Okay, the people were acting as though first they act like they couldn't even see my flight. Then they was acting like my flight wasn't canceled. Then once they found my flight and all that, then they was acting like they couldn't really find me a flight to the next day, and it was just crazy. And plus, we couldn't even find our bags because they didn't give us real good direction of what carousel to go to get our bags. So it's a beginning to be a crowd of us from that same flight trying to figure out where to get our bags from. So the guy tell us where we supposed to get our bags from. We're waiting for our bags. We waited forever to get our bags. So I'm still trying to be rebooked, by the way. I'm on the phone with the people. So one of the ladies who was also on the flight, she tells me she was able to get a flight for the next morning. That she got a flight that left at 5 something in the morning and got to Ohio at like 8 something in the morning. That would have worked for me because I'm like, yo, I got it. I could probably just push my day back and just start later on with work. And so I tried to tell the lady on the phone, the representative, like, hey, I want to get on this flight. Find me this flight. First, she act like there was no such flight. She basically tells me that the lady told me a lie, that there was no such flight at that time. I said, ma'am, are you trying to make this difficult? Like, are you doing this deliberately? Like, because I know you're not trying to tell me that this lady just made that up. She's like, yes. I'm like, okay. So finally, she tells me she see the flight, but it's booked up. It's sold out already. I'm like, all right. So then she tells me the only other flight she has is to leave at 8:45, still that same evening, and to go to Denver and get there at 11 something at night. Spend all night in the airport at Denver and not get on a flight until 6 something in the morning and not get back to Ohio until 12 something in the afternoon. I said, ma'am, you expect me to sleep in the airport with my child? I have a teenager with me. Are you crazy? Like, I can't do that. And she was like, well, the next flight don't leave till 5:52 the next day. That's the only options because the other flight is sold out. So I am livid. So by this time, I go upstairs and get in line to the counter because I believe that they can probably see other flights that this lady is acting like she don't see. The line is so long. Just come to find out, they cancel 3 flights when they cancel our flight. They cancel a flight to Vegas and they canceled a flight to Philly. So it's all these people trying to be rebooked. Y'all, I couldn't believe it. My son is upset. He's like, I hate flying. I never want to fly again. Da, da, da. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm getting irritated because this lady, I feel like she was trying to irritate me on purpose. She was trying to annoy me. And so finally, I just tell her, go ahead and book the 8:45 flight. I'm like, we got to get home. We got to get home. So then she says, oh, I'm sorry. It's sold out. I said, huh? You just told me that it was available. She's like, oh, but when I went back and checked, it's already sold out. I said, okay. So I said, okay, well, book me on the 5:52 one for the next day. Still leaving from where I was currently in Florida. She was like, okay. Then she comes back, oh, that one's sold out too. Listen, y'all. When I say I was in my flesh, like my flesh was so rose up. I was 2 seconds from cussing her out with real cuss words. Like, I was getting so angry because how did you just tell me that these two flights were available and now they're sold out? So I'm like, so when is the next flight we can leave? She said, oh, it won't be till 8:45. I mean 7:59. I'm sorry, it was 7:59. So we had to wait 30 hours. 30 hours, y'all. So I tell her in tears because I'm looking at my son who already frustrated, already mad. He hadn't ate since that morning. It's now evening. It's like 6 o'clock in the evening. Because now I'm like, we gonna possibly have to sleep overnight in the airport because I didn't have no more money left. I couldn't get us a room. I didn't even have no money left for food. So I tell her to book it. She tells me because that was my only option. She tells me she books it. I say, okay. I hang up the phone. Some tell me to stay in line because I never received the email or no notification that she rebooked me. So by the time I get up to the counter, I'm telling the man and the woman, like, hey, my flight was canceled. I need to rebook. There was no other rebooking in the system for me. So they booked me at the counter. So had I walked out of line thinking this lady rebooked me and she didn't. So they ended up rebooking me. Sure enough, the only flight was the 7:59 flight the next day, over 30-hour wait. No accommodation. They was not provided any accommodation for hotel or for food because it was due to weather and that's uncontrollable. So now I'm in tears that because I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm mad. I can't believe this. My son, he started crying. He crying because he like, I don't want to stay in no airport all night. I don't want to stay all night. Da, da, da. I want to go home. And I'm like, oh Lord. Now I'm even more crying because as a mother, it was heartbreaking to see him like that. So he calls his uncle and his aunt and them and is like, hey, we need some money for a hotel because our flight was canceled. And so his aunt asked him to put me on the phone. I told her I verified the situation and she was like, okay, give her a few minutes. She gonna see about his dad giving her some of the money and she gonna call back. And so indeed she did. And in between time, as we were waiting on her to call back, I just was shooting texts to some of my clients because I told you I had to work the next day. And to some of my friends. My one friend was supposed to be picking us up from the airport, so I had to fill her in. And then I was trying to, asking people like, hey, can you send me? I asked one of my other friends, like, can you send us some money? We gotta get a hotel, we gotta get food, da 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 da. So my son's aunt ended up calling back and she went ahead and sent me the money for the hotel room. So I booked the room. Then within probably like 20 minutes, we went from no money to probably over $500. No lie, because his aunt sent money, my friend she sent money, my other friend sent money, my client sent the money for her hair, and my other friend sent money. And then when we get to the hotel, my other client sent the money for her hair. And when I say I had to stop and really like look at myself, look at my response. I did not respond in faith. I did not respond in praise, in belief, in trust in God. I was totally in my flesh. I responded in my flesh. I was in my flesh, y'all. And to see God within moments take us from zero to exceeding abundantly. And then like, as if that wasn't enough, I booked our hotel. I decided to book us at the nearest hotel. I'm a Marriott member, so I'm on my app and I choose the Marriott and it was a hotel resort. So I was just like, it had good reviews. So I did not pay for a Lakeview room because it costed more. I paid for a regular room because I only had the money that she had sent when I had actually booked the room. We get to the hotel. We get up to our room. We got a lake view. Didn't pay for it. We had a lake view, and our room was like overseeing the actual resort part. The resort was beautiful. This hotel was beautiful. It was huge. It had two restaurants in it. It had a smoothie juice bar in it. It had like a gift shop in it, and I don't even know what else because it was so big. We were so tired. We didn't even walk around the whole hotel. It was huge. It was beautiful. And I'm like, Lord, We went from panic. We went from fear. We went from being, just overwhelmed and just, just like with little to no faith to having all of our needs provided. I ended up getting more money in my hand that day than I would have made if I would have went to work. And I ended up not having to work and was able to get some rest. We was able to order us some food and we was able to literally just rest because we still had a long time before our flight came. But I went through this whole testimony, this whole 30 minutes to say, God is faithful. God is faithful. And he will use people, places, and things to bless you. And even though it might look dire, it might look like dead, it might look difficult, it might look like chaotic. God can provide a ram in the bush. And I hadn't even got to a point yet to start praying yet to ask God to provide. I just was straight into, like, you know, resource mode, you know what I mean? Like fix mode, like, like I was straight into like problem solve mode. Like I didn't even stop and consider, but God is so good that he knew what we needed. And before I had to even do too much, he began to provide. And he turned a situation that was meant for evil to good. Just like it says in Genesis, when Joseph was telling his brothers, what you meant for evil, the Lord meant for good. Like he took a situation where the enemy was trying to make it to where my son hated flying. He tried to make it to where I was angry, I was frustrated, I was mad because I'm like, I gotta work, I got these bills I gotta pay, I still gotta pay booth rent. It's an obligation whether I'm there or not. Like I still got other obligations, I got things to do. We just was ready to get home. All of the things that I kept focusing on when God was like, no, I got you. He was like, your responsibility is to rest. I just need you to rest. And I was so focused on just grinding, just getting back to the hustle and bustle that I wasn't even looking at the situation at all. Like, could this be a blessing? Because had I looked at it like that, we could have went to the actual hotel resort and I could have had my son change into some basketball shorts and he could have went out because the resort was beautiful. Oh, got in the pool. I could have been laying out. We could have really enjoyed it, but we just went to our room. And the only reason why we seen it because when we opened the curtains, we seen the lake and then we looked down, we seen the resort, and I was like, wow. It was like, this is crazy. We was just stuck in a hotel with nothing and not knowing what we were going to do. But God. So I just hope this encourages you not to look at God as a genie, not to always have your hand out, but just always have faith and always trust and always hope and always begin to seek Him, pray. Begin to, even in the midst of difficulty and uncertainty, worship, pray, begin to just we cry out to him, instead of just operating out of your flesh like me. Just allow yourself to be moved by the spirit and to believe that God can bring a ram out the bush. He can part the Red Sea. Like I'm telling you, he turned a situation that was like very, very awful to experience in the moment, to be completely honest. Like, I will not lie to you and tell you that nothing about that particular experience in the moment was favorable because it wasn't. It was very difficult. It was very awful. It was very trying. It just was depleting. But by the end of the night, hallelujah, by the end of the night, we were resting in beautiful beds. He had his own queen bed. I had my queen bed. The room was beautiful. It was just, everything was blessed. And, God is a good God. And I couldn't have made that up. I couldn't have made it happen. It wasn't me. It was God using those people. My clients, they were not obligated to send me nothing. They didn't get a service yet. They didn't have to do that. My friends didn't have to do that. Nobody had to do anything. My sons and dad and them didn't have to do nothing. It was out of the goodness. It was because God moved on their hearts. God will put you on people's hearts. God will put you on people's minds. People will just call you like, the Lord told me to bless you. The Lord told me to give you this house. The Lord told me to give you this car. The Lord told me to give you this business. The Lord told me to give you this money. The Lord told me to give you this ministry. The Lord told me, you don't know what God is doing. Even in the midst of chaos, the enemy loves for us to be distracted. He loves for us to just be so focused on our circumstances. And it's not easy. I didn't pass that test. It wasn't easy. I was in my flesh. I was so focused on what was happening to me that I couldn't even I couldn't even think about what God could be allowing and working for me. And so I hope this is an encouragement, but I hope this is also a lesson. Like when you get into a situation and it's not your fault, it wasn't my fault, right? But things just seem like they're going awry, they're getting chaotic, they're just like everything's falling apart. Just begin to just pray, praise, worship, begin to sing, begin to just, seek the Lord. Whatever you do, don't respond out of your flesh. But even if you do fall, a righteous man falls 7 times, but he continues to get up. Even if you do miss the drop the ball like I did, God is still merciful. He's so merciful that he will do it anyway. So that's my testimony of how God just really did something so incredible for my son and I yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, y'all, over the weekend. And we were delayed a day, but we got home finally. And there was some little hiccups with the airline and and flight time and takeoff and all that, before we actually got home. But we got home and we're very, very grateful to be home. So that's the testimony for today. I really do hope it bless you. Just know that your past does not define you. It develops you and you are worthy.